Hey everybody, I'm Jerome Rankin, board member for the Kingfield Neighborhood Association. It's a beautiful day here in Kingfield, so if you're watching live, thank you for being inside, or maybe you're outside. Maybe you're taking a walk with your phone, catching this live on YouTube. If you are watching, here's why we're here. The folks at KFNA, we often brag about how talented and committed and dynamic our community is. We want to give you the opportunity to do some bragging of your own. And the best way to do that is for everyone to get to know everyone a little better. So this is an opportunity for us to share about the cool things that your neighbors are doing. And while we're in this era of what I call physical distancing, we can stay socially connected by getting to know what drives and fulfills our neighbors. So my windows in my home office are open. So if you hear some beautiful Kingfield bird song, that's cool. If you hear some beautiful Kingfield lawnmower, I will mute my line so we can understand what's going on. But welcome to our next guest, Megan Evans-Seeds. Welcome, Megan.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Awesome, awesome. So, Megan, where in the neighborhood are you, and how long have you been in Kingfield?
I am at 4000 block of Wentworth, and we've been here since 2011.
Cool.
Yep. So
coming up on a decade. Almost,
coming
right?
up on a decade.
What kind of things have changed for you in Kingfield since you've been here?
Sure. Well, I mean, certainly when I moved, it was just my husband and I, but we've had 2 kids. So like living in the neighborhood as sort of, you know, a young couple with lots of time on your hands to raising a young family, like we definitely experience the neighborhood differently that way. But we're always so lucky to live, you know, right near MLK Park, right by all the bike paths. You know, we still walk to the lake regularly. Yeah, we just try to be outside as much as possible.
Very cool. My wife and I arrived here with our kids pre-installed, so I have no idea what it's like to do the kidless life in Kingfield. So I envy that experience. So I want to hear more about what you do for work.
Sure. I work for Hennepin County, and my current role is as the Chief Digital Officer, and I manage our digital service team. So we're responsible for the county's external web presence. There's Hennepin US, which we consider to be the county's primary digital service platform. And then there's another 24 or so sites for different parts of the county that we also manage. So the Sheriff's Office has a site, County Attorney's Office, some of our environment and energy kinds of applications. There's a lot of different sites. But on the whole, we're really focused on providing usable and accessible digital service to residents and focus on that consistently positive user experience for every resident that needs to engage with the county online.
So have you always sort of been in the digital sphere? How did you sort of find yourself on this path?
Sure. I definitely not. My background is in public policy. I returned to the Twin Cities to go to the Humphrey School for Public Affairs, and after that, while I was there, I'd started working at the county as a policy intern, but this was with our community corrections department. I was involved in juvenile justice reform work and ended up getting a full-time position after I graduated, and had a really great time working with that whole department in both adult and juvenile, and being a kind of a management consultant, doing a lot of data analysis, program facilitation, evaluation. But the county has opportunities for mobility assignments where you can kind of try on different jobs. And so I took a tour with our web team probably 5 or 6 years ago at this point, and ended up kind of sticking around. And so I worked in many different roles, but I really, from the beginning, enjoyed having a cross-organizational view and being able to work in an area that I thought was ripe for significant resident impact by improving this sort of digital service experience. You know, kind of the part of the county that we know is going to have to increase even more, just as every other industry we interact with is, we have to improve government in the digital space as well.
Yeah. What drove you to look for a career in public policy, and then how does what you do now kind of scratch that original itch?
Sure. I ended up going to policy school after working in the association world. And so I worked for a company that managed nonprofit trade associations. And so it was this great opportunity to, I worked for several different associations at once, and it's all study in kind of organizational management and organizational strategy. So I came to the Humphrey School thinking I'd focus more on nonprofits, but
Hmm.
I kind of fell into government and fell in love with government to a degree, and this opportunity to really impact, you know, how government interacts with sort of me and my neighbors, and that
Yeah.
really on the ground level. And, every once in a while I think about other opportunities, but I do definitely feel called to do some sort of public service. It's we always say, I mean, there's no shortage of problems to solve in government. And I feel like I work with so many people who are equally committed to serving residents in that way. And again, you're not just serving sort of ephemeral residents, you're serving the people that you live near.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've been in this work for a few years now, several years. And I know the pace of change of anything online is extremely rapid. How has your work changed since you started?
So I think when I first joined the team, there was already, they were in terms of local government, I should say, Hennepin US was ahead of the local government curve by really focusing on having usable, mobile-friendly, responsive kind of sites that were more stripped down, more single column, more focused on having an integrated search. That was happening at the time. And you kind of fast forward today where we've done a lot to bring all of our sites into a more consistent, not just look and feel, but also functionality across all of those sites. Now the challenge is to keep pace with that, both to maintain what we have and to continue growing. And, even prior to 12 weeks ago, there was a need to really ramp up the pace on how we're delivering digital service to residents. As we say, like finance, healthcare, retail, like all those other parts of our lives are, increasing digitally at an increasing rate, and government has to
Mhm.
keep pace with that.
Yeah,
But it's a bit of a crossroads because so much of what government does is often in-person service or paper-based service, and
yeah.
um, governments tend to move slowly as the type of organization that they are, and trying to pivot really rapidly is a challenge.
How do you sort of find that challenge? You talk about government moving slowly. I think people can recognize and understand that. Has that been sort of like a source of frustration for you, or have you sort of found a way to manage your way through that kind of pace when you know the services that you're trying to help people engage with are extremely important?
Well, I think it goes back to that no shortage of problems to solve. So we try to channel our frustration into problem solving, which, yeah, I mean, it can be frustrating, and it's not even maybe so much government, but just like any large organization that
Sure.
covers like a dozen or more industries, like the ability to sort of clearly and cleanly steer in one direction is going to be challenging.
Yeah.
I think as often as we can, that we were trying to all focus on serving residents, let's say, and
Mhm.
that looks really different if you're in transportation versus human services, versus public safety. Like we're all doing that in a different way. But in the digital side, it's like we're trying to do that consistently for all of those industries from the same
Right.
place. So
Right.
we try to do a lot of work to bring different functions together, like communications and IT and our line of business partners, so that we're talking about the way we all need to work together to serve residents and bring that user voice or resident voice in as much as possible.
Yeah. So how's your work changed over the past, I mean, who knows how many weeks it's been now, 10, 12? Don't know. Since the coronavirus crisis sort of shifted everything we do and every way that we work and live and operate, how's it changed what
Yeah.
you're doing?
Yeah, well, it's been the crisis no one wanted, but that certainly was needed to make the kind of change I'd love to see more of in local
Mm,
government. So I don't at all wish this upon any of us, but we are able to use it as just a way to frame improvements that we need to make in the digital space.
sure.
Certainly for me and my team and most of my colleagues, it meant overnight moving from a very office-based kind of structure to one that was completely remote.
Hmm.
But working in the digital world, like the work we do is pretty well equipped for that. The county shut many of its buildings kind of overnight, along with all of the governor's orders, and
Sure.
all of our department partners had to really reimagine what delivering service for residents looked like, depending on their line of work, or even if they could deliver service in person, like how doing that safely, how to do that safely. On the website, we spent a lot of time having to just kind of go across all our pages and kind of put stop signs up, like a lot was closed, And then as soon as we could, we try to reframe that in terms of what service you could still get, and try to inform people as much as they could in advance of seeking out that service, ahead of having like that actual functionality online. Content is the service we can deliver digitally, and setting expectations, making things as easy to do as possible, even if it still requires tracking down a printer, putting something in the mail, or faxing. If we can just tee that up for people in as simple a way as possible, that's our goal.
Yeah.
Trying to make things sort of easy to do the right thing, hard to do the wrong thing is really the basest way I can say it.
Sure. You know, you alluded to something that I think is super interesting, and that is the idea that a crisis provides an opportunity for bigger change. You know, with all of the downsides that come with it, there's also this opening to do things differently. So it sounds like you're thinking about that. And what are some of the sort of either specific or more like philosophical changes that you want to carry forward, even when we've moved beyond this immediate crisis?
Sure. I think one of the most tangible ways I would name the change is, you know, when you're operating in a physical environment, it's really clear to people that you need somebody to unlock the door, and someone to flip the sign over, and someone to turn the lights on. And when that goes away, we have to kind of shift that to the digital space. Like, make sure that your web page is, you know, saying what is happening. We're trying to get ahead on our, you know, even on the like Google business pages, and making sure that's up to speed, because people are often seeking us out before we know it. And if our digital sign sort of says we're closed, but we're not, that's a disservice to them. So in practice, that has meant more clearly ensuring we have ownership of all of these different, you know, web locations, that people are monitoring them, that we are up to speed on what the latest changes are, and that they're getting updated in as quick a manner as possible. It's not even for the people who are, you know, intentionally going to our site. It's really to inform, you know, all of the Google products, any of the other search engines that are, you know, pulling our data and indexing that for their own products. We have a role to play in ensuring that that data is as accurate as possible from the first point.
Very cool. Well, Megan, thank you very much for taking just a few minutes with us to chat. I really appreciate it. Thanks everyone who is either watching this live on a sunny day or watching this on YouTube on a rainy day. Thanks for being part of this experience, and we'll be back again next Wednesday, 5:30, same time, same place, and hopefully you can join us then. Until then, thanks.
Thank you.